They say if you stay near the old silver bridge, you'll hear wings before you see eyes. I used to laugh at that, but I'm not laughing anymore. It was supposed to be a solo getaway. I'd been living in Charleston for 2 years, working a tech job I didn't care about, slowly drowning in deadlines, fake smiles, and screens. When I hit a breaking point, I packed my gear, filled my tank, and headed west and toward Point Pleasant. I didn't go for the history, not the TNT area, not the museums. I just wanted quiet. Trees, a sky without signals. I found a small spot, just outside town, a patch of woods near the river, right in view of where the Silver Bridge used to stand before it collapsed in 1967. It wasn't an official campsite, but there were signs people had pitched tents there before, flattened. Grass, old fire rings, beer cans, the locals had warned me. Don't camp too close to the bridge, one gas station clerk told me, eyeing my backpack. Not if you want to sleep. I asked why. He just shrugged. You'll see. I thought it was just small-town spook talk. You know, Mothman and ghost stories to keep tourists entertained. I even laughed a little as I set up my tent facing the river. The wind carried the smell of pine and something older, rusty like wet steel. By dusk, I had a small fire going, ate some beans from a can, watched the sky bleed from orange to purple. It was perfect. Not a soul for miles. Just trees, wind, and river, until the air changed. It's hard to explain. 1 minute it was calm, the next thick, like the forest exhaled all at once and decided not to breathe back in. No sound, no bugs, no rustling, just silence. And that silence had weight. I started to feel watched. You know that feeling? Like someone's behind you, but you know they're not? Except here, it felt worse. Like I was the only thing that didn't belong. I shrugged it off, poured some water on the fire, got in the tent, zipped it up tight. That's when I heard the first sound. It wasn't footsteps. It wasn't breathing. It was wings. Massive. Slow. Like canvas ripping in slow motion, sweeping over the trees. I sat up fast, heart pounding. Then came the second sound, a deep, low hum. Not a mechanical one, more like a vibration, like a storm brewing deep inside the earth. I unzipped the tent and peeked outside. The trees stood still. The river didn't move. But in the sky, high up in the dark clouds, there were 2 glowing, red orbs, eyes not blinking, not moving, just watching, and then a whisper. Not in the air, in my head. You shouldn't have come here alone. I stumbled out of the tent barefoot, crunching pine needles beneath my heels. The fire had gone out completely. No smoke, no embers, like it had been swallowed. My breath came in short, rapid bursts as I stared upward at the 2 glowing red orbs floating in the dark sky. They weren't stars. They weren't plane lights. They weren't reflections. They were eyes, too far apart to belong to anything human, too focused to be anything natural. They didn't blink, they didn't shift, they just stared. I took a slow step back. That's when the hum returned, louder now, like it had moved into my chest. I felt it in my bones, vibrating behind my ribs like a warning I couldn't translate. The sound wasn't external. It was inside me, like the forest had crawled through my ears and taken root behind my heartbeat. And then came the wings, not flapping, not like a bird. One slow drag of something massive over the tops of the trees, branches cracking, leaves fluttering like feathers in a hurricane. I fell to my knees. Something moved in the dark beyond my fire pit, tall, thin, slow. A shape. Not just shadows, it was solid, like the dark itself had arms and legs. And then I realized it wasn't in the sky anymore, it was on the ground, watching me from 20 feet away. The eyes were the same, still glowing, but lower now, just above the bushes. My breath caught in my throat. It didn't move, but its head tilted to the side, like it was studying me, like a crow sizing up roadkill. I crawled backward, my hands shaking, my mind screaming at me to run. But my legs wouldn't work. I wasn't frozen with fear, I was being held. The same vibration from before now pressed down on me like a weight. I felt like the trees were bending toward me, leaning in to listen, to witness. And then it spoke again. Not with a voice, not with sound, with thought, "Do you remember what you did by this river?" I blinked, my lips parted. "What?" I whispered, even though no one was there to hear it. The red eyes blinked once, slowly. "You think I only watch strangers?" My mouth went dry, and suddenly something clicked in the back of my memory. Something sharp, something I'd buried for years. A different river, same state, same woods, different time. It was 2008. I was 16. Me and my cousin, Jake, had been drinking in the woods across the water near the old gravel pit. We found a bird, a big one, hurt. It had fallen from a nest, wing broken, crying in the dirt. Jake had dared me to kill it. He said it was mercy. I hesitated. Then I grabbed a rock. I didn't think about it. I just did it. I remember the way the woods went silent after. I remember feeling sick, not because I killed it, but because I enjoyed it. For a second, something about the power. I never told anyone that part. But now, this thing, it knew. I whispered again. "What are you?" The eyes blinked. The thing stepped forward. The moon caught its shape now. Long limbs, black skin like stretched leather, massive folded wings across its back. It didn't have a face, just that same pair of burning eyes, like embers in a furnace. It didn't come closer. It didn't chase me. It just stood there, judging, remembering, feeding. I collapsed beside my tent, and it watched me until the sun started to rise. When the first ray of daylight touched the trees, it vanished. No wings, no wind, no sound, just gone, like it had never been there. But something had changed. Because the next morning, when I finally found the courage to pack up and leave, I noticed something in the dirt beside the ashes of my fire. 3 large claw-like prints, deep, precise. Burned into the ground, and something else too, something worse. My phone, which had been charging in the tent, had a photo I didn't take, a close-up, of 2 glowing red eyes taken from behind me. I didn't go straight home, I couldn't. I drove past the city, past Charleston, past everything familiar. For hours I just followed the interstate, gripping the wheel so tight my palms blistered. I didn't listen to music, I didn't answer texts, I didn't stop for food. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I expected to see those red eyes glowing from the trees. They weren't there, but I felt them anyway. Watching, waiting. I finally pulled off near a truck stop in Kentucky and checked into a cheap motel. I locked the door, dragged a chair under the knob, and turned every light on. I stood in the shower for almost an hour, not to clean, just to drown out the noise in my head, because the thing hadn't just watched me, it had spoken to me. It had reached into my memories and pulled out something I'd buried so deep, I'd convinced myself it never mattered. That bird I killed when I was 16, I'd written it off as nothing, a mistake, a stupid teenage impulse. Jake never brought it up again. We never talked about that night. It was one of those things you forget by force, but the Mothman hadn't. It remembered, and now it felt like it had attached itself to me. I charged my phone in the wall outlet and opened the camera roll. That photo, it was still there. Glowing, red eyes, inches behind my shoulder. No body, no face, just blackness and fire. The timestamp read 3:33 a.m. I didn't take it. I'd been outside, paralyzed, staring into those very same eyes. I tried deleting it. The screen went black. Then the photo came back. I tried again. Same thing. I restarted the phone, cleared the cache, wiped the gallery. Still there. I started shaking, not from fear, from helplessness. Whatever. That thing was, it wanted to be remembered. 2 nights later, I was back in Charleston. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not my co-workers, not my sister. I didn't want the looks, the concern, the questions, but the silence followed me home. And so did the eyes. At first, it was just small things. Lights flickering when I walked by mirrors, birds freezing mid-flight. As I passed beneath them, a shadow, always too far away to make sense, standing just outside my apartment building. Then came the messages, scrawled in the dust on my bathroom mirror. They never forget. Written in black marker on my windshield one morning, "You were warned." and once carved into the top of my wooden coffee table, something I knew hadn't been there before. Not punishment, prophecy. I started researching. Everything I could. Find Mothman sightings go back decades, 1966 and 1967 mostly, right before the Silver Bridge collapsed and killed 46 people. Some say he caused it, some say he tried to warn them, but none of the stories matched mine. No one mentioned the voice or the memory reading or the burned prints in the ground. Then I found something. A scanned newspaper clipping from 1982. Not from West Virginia, from Ohio. Headline: Teen found dazed in woods claims red-eyed angel. Told him he'd burn in his sleep. The boy survived. 3 weeks later, his entire house caught fire. He was the only one who made it out alive. His family didn't. The last line of the article chilled me. Authorities found 3 deep, claw-like impressions outside the boy's bedroom window. It wasn't a cryptid, not just a creature. It was something older, something that follows the weak spots and the cracks in your soul. And if it's watching you, it's not because it wants to scare you. It wants to show you something, something that's coming. I tried to live normally, go to work, pretend I was okay. But every day something else changed. Not around me, inside me. I started having dreams I couldn't wake from. Dreams where I stood on the Silver Bridge, looking down at black water. My hands were covered in soot. The sky overhead was red. Not like sunset, red like something bleeding from the clouds. And in those dreams, someone always whispered behind me, "You know what's coming. You just won't say it out loud." I began writing things down, trying to organize the nightmares, the symbols, the flashes of wings in the mirror. It didn't help. My handwriting grew frantic. Sentences stopped making sense. My thoughts looped. Then one night I lost time. I woke up in my apartment bathtub and fully clothed, drenched, freezing, and I had no idea how I got there. My phone was shattered on the floor. The bathroom mirror had a new word on it, written in black ash, soon. That was the night I broke. I needed answers. Real ones. So I drove back to Point Pleasant. It was 3 a.m. when I reached the river. The fog rolled thick across the banks, the moon a dull smear above the trees. I didn't bring a tent. I didn't bring gear, just a notebook, a flashlight, and whatever courage I had left. I sat where I had camped the first time, same spot, fire pit still scattered with stones, and I waited. Nothing happened for hours. No wings, no whispers, no eyes, just silence. But right before dawn, I felt it, that vibration in my chest, that low, humming grief. I turned toward the river, and it was there, perched on a dead tree, wings folded tight, red eyes smoldering like coals in wet wood. But it didn't move. It didn't speak. It just stared at me. And I stared back. Not afraid this time. Not shocked, just waiting. Then, something. In my head, unlocked, like a trapdoor in my memory. Not the bird I killed, not Jake. Something else, a woman, dark hair, smiling, a face I hadn't seen in years. My mother. She'd died when I was 10, car accident, or so they said. But I remembered something new. Now she wasn't driving, I was. It didn't make sense, I was too young, too small, too scared. But it was real. We were in a parking lot and I'd begged her to let me try the wheel, just a minute. Just to pretend. She said yes. She laughed. She said, "Hold it tight and don't press anything." But I had pressed. Something. The car rolled forward into the street. The truck didn't have time to stop, and afterward, they told me she was driving, because I said nothing. I let them believe it. My knees hit the dirt, my mouth opened, but I couldn't speak. The Mothman didn't blink, didn't breathe, just watched me remember. And then in my mind, it said something new. The bridge falls again, but this time, you're under it. The sky turned gold. The sun broke the fog. And the creature faded. Not like smoke, not like wind, just and gone. I opened my notebook. On the last page, in handwriting I didn't recognize, one sentence waited. "You cannot stop it, but you can tell them." And that's why I'm writing this now. Not for you to believe, but because the last time this happened, the Silver Bridge, no one told the truth until it was too late. And this time, we are all standing on the edge. 3 weeks after I returned from Point Pleasant, the first headline hit. Bridge on I-64 closed after major structural crack found. That was 30 miles from where I lived, a route I used every day. Officials called it routine, said no one was in danger. Temporary closure, just precaution, but I knew better. Knew what precaution really meant. The cracks had already started. I went back through my notebook. Reread every line I'd scrawled in panic. The dates, the symbols, the dreams. Some of them made no sense, but some started to feel like a timeline. Every visit of the Mothman in history had one thing in common. It didn't attack. It warned. But no one listened. Just like me, they thought it was a curse, a haunting, a punishment. But it was never that. It was a signal. A week later, another article. Emergency crews investigate riverbed shifts near Huntington Bridge. Riverbed shifts. Same. Phrase they used before the Silver Bridge collapse in '67. Only this time, they weren't calling in geologists or historians. They were calling in federal agents. I tried to warn people. I sent anonymous tips to local papers, posted in forums, even reached out to the Point Pleasant Historical Society under a fake name. No one responded, except one email from a burner address. It just said, "You saw it, so did we, you should leave." The dreams came back stronger. Now I was standing beneath the bridge, not on top. I saw people above me, cars, lights, laughter, and I screamed at them to move, but my voice didn't carry. My mouth was open, but the sound was drowned out by a low, grinding metal groan that got louder and louder until the bridge gave. Saway, and I always woke up just as it fell. Then something happened I hadn't expected. Jake is my cousin, as called. I hadn't spoken to him in years. "Have you been back there?" He asked. "Where?" "Point Pleasant." I paused. "Why are you asking?" He was quiet for a moment. I saw it too. He told me he'd been driving through West Virginia late one night, a few weeks before I went camping. He said he'd stopped, on the road to check a flat, and when he stood back up, he saw it, red eyes. In the trees. No words, no chase, just observation. He didn't tell anyone, thought it was stress. Thought he imagined it, until he saw my forum post online, until he started dreaming about bridges. That's when I understood something awful. It wasn't watching just me. It was marking witnesses, like sentinels, like survivors. And every one of us, everyone who had ever seen it, we weren't chosen at random. We were picked because we remembered something we weren't supposed to, we buried something we never paid for. Jake had something too. A secret. He didn't say it out loud, but I heard it in his voice. He was breaking like me. We met up a few days later, drove out to a ridge overlooking the Huntington Bridge. We sat there for hours, just watching. No red eyes, no wings, just silence. Until around 3 a.m., that's when the vibrations started, not under us, below the bridge. The vibrations were subtle at first, like a deep engine humming beneath the surface of the world. Jake and I stood there, leaning against the hood of my car, staring out over the black stretch of river and steel. The Huntington Bridge stood silent, proud, headlights trailing across its surface like veins on a sleeping beast. Then the feeling grew. I pressed my palm to the ground. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a heartbeat, slow, deliberate, ancient. Jake noticed it too. "You feel that?" Nodded. He turned toward the bridge again, eyes wide. "It's not done, it's waking up." And then we saw it, not the creature, the signs. Dozens of birds, blackbirds, maybe ravens, rising in waves from the trees near the bridge, spiraling into the sky like they'd been startled from the inside of the earth. Not by light, not by noise, by instinct, a warning only they could hear. I grabbed my notebook. We drove down the hill, stopped at the side of the road just before the bridge entrance. No police, no guards, no roadblocks, just business as usual. Jake stared at the steel frame, his hands shaking. "You think it'll collapse like the other one?" I didn't answer. I already knew. I took a photo of the bridge with my cracked phone. At first, nothing strange appeared. Then the image glitched, just for a second, and when it cleared, there they were, Two red dots high up in the fog between the suspension beams. Watching. Jake didn't see them, but I did. And worse, I felt them inside me. Like they'd made a home there. Like they'd never left. I looked at Jake. We have to leave. Tonight. He didn't argue. We packed everything and drove straight south. No destination, no map. Just away. And I knew something without question. The bridge would fall. Maybe not tonight, maybe not next week, but it would. And it wouldn't be just a tragedy. It would be a correction, a reckoning, because that's the thing no one tells you about. The Mothman. It doesn't warn to save you, it warns so you'll remember. So when the world breaks open, you'll know why. 3 months later, I checked the news like I always did. There it was. Breaking Huntington Bridge. Partially collapses. 5 confirmed dead. They blamed structural fatigue. They blamed vibrations. They blamed time. But I know what caused it. It was us, all of us. Our guilt, our silence, our sins, and the Mothman, it wasn't. Punishing. It was just there to witness the fall. Now I don't sleep near windows. I don't drive at night. And I don't talk about the things I've done unless I'm ready to be seen. Because the Mothman's not gone. It's never gone. It just waits above the next bridge, behind the next truth, inside the next secret. Watching, always watching.